Power BI, continuing to learn DAX, and today we're going to talk about one of the filter functions, and that is the all function. We're going to take a look at it, how to make some totals, and then how to use the all filter to create some ratios and percentages using the all function. So your filters, you've got all selected as we continue to learn DAX in Power BI. Back in Power BI, today we're going to take a look at one of the filter functions for DAX. It is the all function. In Power BI, the first thing we're going to do is load the sample data set, which is financials. And this will allow us to make a quick measure. So from the financial sheet, we are going to just load it. There's no changes to be made. And now we have our data in our data set. It's loading financials. What the all function does is allows you to filter your data, and it can allow you to make some ratios and percentages, take a little bit deeper analysis of your data. So again, in the financials, if you followed along in the other videos, you've got the following categories. What's nice about this sample data set is that it has some text columns, it has some number columns, it has some revenue columns. So the only thing we're really going to do here is create a quick measure. That's going to be total sales. This will allow us to compare some of the different filters with the all function. So it's going to be the sum. Sum is going to be of the only table in this model called financial sales. We're going to close it out with the right parenthesis. Total sales is now set up as a measure with the calculator icon. So the first thing we're going to do is make a matrix, a table. We're going to show you with this table that if you bring in the country and the total sales, if we format the total sales to dollars, just to make it easier to read, we'll put 0 decimal places. So now we've got $118 million in sales. Filter context right now is the country. The total, remember, that actually is not a total. It is context dependent, meaning if you change the countries, the total sales in each of those rows will change with the context of the filter. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new measure called all sales. And what all sales is it takes out the context of that 118 million. And all sales is going to be using the calculate function. We did do a video on calculate. So we're going to take the expression, which is total sales. Then we're going to use the filter, which is all. And again, all is just one of about 15 to 20 filters. As you learn DAX, you'll start to learn all the different filters. And then what we want for the context to change is the country. So the financial countries, it's asking for a table name or a column name in the syntax. So we're going to choose the country. And what that is going to show us, we now have a measure called all sales. And when we bring this measure into the matrix, we see that total matches up to the total from the country context. So what this allows you to do is now we can create a ratio. And the ratio is going to be, if we want to see the percentage of sales by country, we could use the divide, and the numerator is total sales because that's the big number, and the denominator is all sales. This is going to give us the percentage of sales. Now, the advantage of doing this is that if we format this percentage of sales to the percentage, it adds up to 100%. But if we wanted to use visual, a card visual, if we go to the home screen and from our visuals, bring in a card, we can get that all sales number to appear as a value versus if we had to just bring in, we can't really bring in without it being context dependent. And that 118 million can be used in other measures. So we're going to show you some more examples of this, but this is the biggest case of using the all to get rid of the filter context so that you can start to do some percentages. Now that we've created the total sales and the all sales with the filter function all, we could go back to this matrix and the total sales, if we remove that, we could still see our all sales, but we could remove that as well. And now we have our percentage of sales. And we would not be able to do that if we did not have that percentage of all sales in our measures. And that is based on the filter context of the country in the current format. The next example is make another table, and we can make a table that includes the segment. So if we bring in the segment, we have the different segments. And if we bring in the total sales, we still have 118 million. But now what we could do is add in the total sales by segment. Now we have total sales and we have all sales. We can take a look at the all selected, which works very similar to the all, but it allows you to filter out the context for what you currently have selected. So the first thing we're going to do is make a table. In that table, we're going to put the segments. We're going to put total sales. So it still adds up to $118 million in total sales. We have not changed that. But if we make a filter, in that filter, we add the different segments, we can now create the formula for all selected. So the new measure for this one is going to be the all selected segment, which equals, we're going to use calculate, which is another filter. It modifies context, and we're going to use total sales. At total sales, we're now going to select all selected. And all selected asks for the table name or the column name. So in this example, we're using the financials segment. And the financials segment is going to be the context for the all selected feature. So now when we bring in the all selected segment, we have $118 million in sales. We'll change this to 0 parentheses again. And we're going to change it to English, dollars. So it still matches up. But when we select government, the all selected segment filters to what is selected. So it works in combination with the filter context that is going to that filter. Now that filter is also filtering out the country sales. So when I select mid-market, we see that the mid-market sales by country, but down here in the table, we see just the sales. And you can use this for multiple selections if you have that set up as a single selection or a multiple selection. So if we go to the government sales, if we were to take out from this table, we could now take out total sales, and we have our all selected. And what this allows you to do is, again, we could have a card, and we could put into this card the total sales. And when we unselect it, it goes back up to the 119 million. And if we want to see small business sales, we could have that in the card for the user. So when you're using all and all selected, what the filter does, it allows you to change the context. And some examples that you're going to be using for filters: calculates a filter function, all is a filter function, all selected is another filter function. And once you become a little bit familiar with these, this is really where you can start to ask your business questions and then start to use DAX to answer some of those questions. That is a look at Power BI with DAX, and we took a look at how to learn all and all selected.